the story of our world every day. Listen and your heart may open up. If ever you feel frightened of our world that's washed away, a mother is a mother, come to us. Women, 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 women. Women sew the fabric of our world every day. History of violence made it through. The stories that we share will live on until we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you. Women.
Welcome to the hashtag 101 Nights show, brought to you by the Scheherazade Project. I'm Lisa Liebau, co-founder with Julia Alvarez. We're coming down to the wire. During this final week before Election Day 2020, we're hosting multi-artist specials each night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Please leave a comment in the chat about what hashtag 101 Nights has meant to you these past few months. More importantly, now is the time. If you haven't already done so, cast your ballot in this most important election. If there are long lines, bring food, something to read, or better yet, tune in to hashtag 101 Nights to pass the time. We'll be streaming a marathon of all episodes from 1 to 101 all day long on Election Day. This is it. Vote, everyone.
Hi, this is Mary F. Coates. I'm an artist currently living in Madison, Wisconsin, where in addition to my studio practice, I'm also the head mechanic for Madison's bike share program, B-Cycle. It is such an honor to be part of the Scheherazade Project this year and to be in the company of so many incredible artists and activists. When Lisa invited me to participate this year, I immediately thought back to an idea I had had for an animation, or for a drawing-based animation, and it just felt like the exact right moment to make it and share it. It's atypical for my work, as I don't usually involve my personal life, at least not in a way that is noticeable to the viewer. But this piece is very personal. It's about my assault when I was 18. I was raped by an acquaintance. I did not speak up then. So now I finally get to speak up. This animation is about that, and the words, "please stop, please don't," is one of the few things that I do remember saying. And yeah, it's hard to talk about, but the older I've gotten, the more vocal I've been able to be about it. And I think it's important that we share these things with each other. As I did finally start to share my experiences, I met so many other women that had the same experience. And as painful as that is to know how many of us go through this, it also makes you feel stronger knowing you have all these people that understand what you've been through. So thank you for being the first audience to see this video. I'm also, along with this animation, I'm sharing some other examples of my paintings. I tend to mainly paint, and I also draw and make prints, and in recent years I've just started delving into very basic animating. It feels like a natural progression it actually did stem from the same artist residency that I met Lisa at. I was lucky enough to have a studio visit with a painter who I greatly admire, a California artist, Allison Sholnick, and she makes amazing paintings and amazing animations, and she brought up the idea to me of what if you tried animating these, what if these could be in motion. So I'm grateful for that suggestion, because it did send me on a whole new avenue in my work. So I'm still learning, still doing very basic stuff, but it's exciting to see my work come alive. And I think it was such a natural progression because of my fascination with vibrating colors and elusive colors. It's very cool to see what was a perceived movement in my two-dimensional work and seeing that become actual movement in animation. Again, I am so honored to be in this amazing company, all these amazing artists, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Thank you.
The first time that I got cancer, I was 33 years old. I was a lawyer clerking in the Court of Appeals DC Circuit. My husband Jeffrey and I had a 4-year-old son, Daniel, and I had just delivered our second son, Perry, when I was diagnosed with massive Hodgkin's lymphoma and told that if I underwent chemotherapy and radiation, I had a 1 in 4 chance of surviving for 5 years. I couldn't allow myself to believe it. I created a fantasy. There was this woman named Heitzi Epstein who lived in Virginia, and her scans had been switched with mine. She had Hodgkin's disease. But because of this mistaken identity, I was being given the chemo and radiation. When things got really bad, Jeff and I could rail at Heitzi Epstein, and I lived. The second time I was diagnosed with cancer, I was 55. During the intervening 22 years, I had gotten lung disease, heart disease, growths in my liver and my spleen, and esophageal disease as side effects from the Hodgkin's treatment. Every year, some test required some kind of exploratory surgery. But I was so grateful to have stayed alive, to see my boys grow up. And I was amazed to be there when they graduated from high school and from college. By then, I was working as an artist with a studio in my basement. Daniel was 24 and worked at a labor law firm in New York City. And Perry was 21 and about to start a job as a computer program engineer at Facebook. Jeffrey and I were enjoying the freedoms of being empty nesters. And of course, I was still having follow-up tests every year. I knew that the chemo and the radiation increased my chance of getting breast cancer, but I was still devastated to learn that I had to have a double mastectomy with no possibility of reconstruction. So little is in your control when you have cancer. I wanted at least to control how I approached losing both my breasts. So I gave myself a bye-bye breast party. I invited all my women friends to join me in bidding farewell to my breasts. People brought breast-shaped food. And at the end of the evening, anyone who wanted could join me in a skinny dip to give the girls a nice send-off. When I went for surgery 2 days later, I brought the leftovers to share with my surgical team. It was harder for me to deal with my new body than I had expected. My balance was off, and I had a new unwelcome intimacy with my big belly now that I didn't have a bust. One day, while I was getting chemotherapy, I had this daydream. I imagined that I was swimming in the ocean, and as I walked out onto the sand, I saw that I was wearing a wetsuit that had my scars. As I unzipped the wetsuit, my healthy body that was inside emerged. I peeled off and discarded the clothing as I strode up the beach in my strong, healthy former body. The image felt very healing. So I created a 3-piece sculpture to represent it. The first piece is a torso that has my scars and the imprint of a zipper. In the second piece, the zipper's pulled down and the healthy torso emerges. The scars show now on the inside of the peeled layer. The third piece is not yet complete. It will show a healthy torso, and I want to find a way to have the scarred skin fly off the back of the shoulders. Whatever scars we wear on the outside, within us, our true selves endure. Inside, I am still myself. My whole self.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth S. Wolfe. I'm a poet and a storyteller. I think we're all poets and storytellers, but I try to write things down, and I go to small theaters and tell stories to groups of strangers. Because when you tell your stories to groups of strangers, they're not strangers anymore, and we learn more about what we all have in common. I'm going to read you 2 poems tonight, both written during the Trump administration. The first during the Kavanaugh period, which was traumatic for so many women. And it's based on a lot of the stories and the testimony that you heard. And then the second one based on a protest that I went to a year ago this summer. So I'm going to start with, they were both published in Ibbotson Street. I'm going to start with Between My Fingers Like a Shield. I carry shards of glass in my pockets. I broke the mirror. I didn't want to see. Pretty gets catcalled. Pretty gets groped by anonymous hands. Men press against Pretty's behind on the bus. Pretty gets winks and told to smile more. I don't wash my hair. I don't make up my face. My daddy is afraid I like girls. But that's not the worst thing. Daddy, your friends used to blow smoke in my face and feel up my rear. Used to look down my shirt while I fetched a coaster. Daddy, after a few drinks, your friends are too friendly. I don't wash my hands. They don't want me touching their food anymore. They call me a slob. But that's not the worst thing. The boy next door, I thought he was my friend, Daddy. The varsity team invited me to a party. I was happy then. Daddy, those boys are not my friends. Daddy, Pretty is dead. Pretty got raped. Now I just walk around in this dirty body, try to make it through the day untouched. Pray for me, Daddy. They say Jesus loves the sinner and blesses the unwashed. I'll be right over here, waiting for a sign, clutching shards of glass. And this just came out in the most recent Ibbotson Street. It's called With Chauffeurs and Drums. And the epigraph is from an interview with David Hogue from the Parkland Kids. Almost every community we'd gone to where something horrible had happened, they all had dead grass around them because of the thousands of people that come in and stand on it and ask for justice, ask for peace, and might get some temporary answer. But then eventually, the grass comes back just to die again. With chauffeurs and drums. I took 2 buses and walked for half an hour to reach the New England Holocaust Memorial. Hundreds of Jews were there, on the slate path, on the Greenway lawn, singing and chanting Kaddish for those who have died in U.S. detention centers. We shouted, "Never again" means never again for anyone. We wept. At the call of the chauffeur, we marched, leaving behind a bin of water bottles and trampled grass. America is no longer America to me. We walked in the streets, carrying signs, banging drums, shouting slogans. Car horns blared as drivers yelled and swerved. The police tried to herd us onto the sidewalks, but we held the streets. These are not normal times. A young boy out with his family asked, "Will all the kids get to go home tomorrow?" His dad swept the boy up onto his shoulders. While we marched in Boston, tanks were trucked into Washington, D.C., and fencing was erected on the mall by the Lincoln Memorial. Fencing bisected the reflecting pool. Only those with invitations could stand inside. This is no longer America to me. On my way home, a woman with a small child, both born in another country, waited with their bags in a small alcove at South Station. "That's not the line," an older woman scolded. The mother looked up, confused. "You shouldn't be here. You don't even know how to get on the bus." The mother reached for her girl, stood between her child and the anger. "It's okay," I said. "They're with me. I am holding her place in line." Both women stared at me, tear-streaked and disheveled, lame from walking several miles. I put out my hand. "Come, here with me. It's okay." And we became friends. America is not the land of the free that we wish it to be. Last night, somewhere in America, a young brown child with a mylar blanket, sitting on a cold concrete floor, snot on her clothes and itchy with lice, stared at the bars and whispered to the rag clutched in her hand, "I wish Mama were here." Last night, somewhere in America, in a place we used to call "It Can't Happen Here," a patch of grass grew tall and lush under a soft summer sky. Thank you, and do what you can. November 3rd, please vote.
Greetings. My name is Radha Ganeson, and I'm delighted to present Bharatanatyam, a classical dance form of India. Intricate footwork, facial expressions, and hand gestures come together to interpret and communicate the meaning and essence of music. The following presentation in the Sanskrit language is the story of the great river goddess Ganga, how her waters cascaded down the supreme yogi Shiva's matted locks from celestial heights to earth. This sacred myth has inspired peerless sculpture, poetry, dance, and music down the ages. The devout ruler Bhagiratha seeks a boon of the heavenly waters for his drought-stricken people. Pleased with his years of austerities, his boon is granted, and the waters of the Ganges flow down to earth. The Ganges River and its tributaries has been a cradle of numerous civilizations, providing life and sustenance to hundreds of millions of people.
सनोऽहं विगतविषय कृष्णमाराधयामि गधापा सरिगा गधरी सकलकलुषभङ्गे स्वर्गसोपनसङ्गे कारणतरतरङ्गे देवी गङ्गे प्रसीदा सकलकलुषभङ्गे स्वर्गसोपनसङ्गे कारणतरतरङ्गे देवी गङ्गे प्रसीदा गरि ग सरि ग स प ग ग ग रि स पक्षी तुरग उरग कोपी वरनो वारिणस्यं जनन मरणे क्लेश दुःख सहिष्णु मोक्ष पक्षी तुरग उरग कोपी वरणो वारिणस्यं जनन मरणे क्लेश दुःख सहिष्णु मोक्ष पक्षी तुरग उरग कोपी वरणो वारिणस्यं जनन मरणे क्लेश दुःख सहिष्णु मोक्ष पक्षी तुरग उरग कोपी वरणो वारिणस्यं जनन मरणे क्लेश दुःख सहिष्णु गपप ऋगग ऋसगरि पगद पदरे स न त्वन्यत्र प्रविरलरण कङ्कणक्वन मिश्रं वरस्त्रीभीष्टमरमरुत विजितो भूमिपाल न त्वन्यत्र प्रविरलरण कङ्कणक्वन मिश्रं
धिं दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट तं धिं दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट तं धिं दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट तं 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 तद्धिं धिं धिं तत्तुं तुं तुं तन्नं नं नं दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट 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 झुं तज्झुं तक्क झुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट तज्झुं तक्क झुं तक्किट्ट झुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट दृक्कु तक्क तट्रि किट्ट तक्क झुं तक्किट्ट झुं तक्क धिंबि झुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं तकतिकु तदिगिनतुं
नात्वन्यत्र प्रविरलरण कङ्कणात्वन मिश्रं वरस्त्रीभिश्च मरमरुत विजितो भूमिपाल जनल सज्जनो दुर्जनो वा विमनैः समन समनैः हिमने त्वत्तमजनल सज्जनो दुर्जनो वा विमनैः समन समनैः हिमने समायते तस्मिन् पुररति लोके पुरद्वर समृद्ध
தள்ளங் புத்தக்க திக்கு தக்க தத்திம் கிண்ணத்தும் தம் திம் தம் திம் தக்க திம் திம் தக்க திம் தக்க திம் ஜலம் ஜலம் தக்க ஜலதி ஜலதி தக்க தம் திம் தம் திம் தக்க திம் திம் தக்க திம் தக்க திம் ஜலம் ஜலம் தக்க ஜலதி ஜலதி தக்க ஜலம் ஜலதி தக்க தரகடும் ஜலம் ஜலதி தக்க தரகடும் தரகடும் ஜலம் ஜலதி தக்க தரகடும் தரகடும் தரகடும்
शिव
Thank you to all the sisters. We may be wrapping up the hashtag 101 Nights campaign on Election Day, but the Scheherazade Project will continue beyond this one event. We've gathered such an incredible community of strong, fierce, creative women whose voices and art can continue to change the world for the better. There's so much work to do. First, let's finish this job. Make sure your vote counts. Thank you to our generous donors. With your donations, we have been able to purchase video editing, transcription, and live stream scheduling software. We've been able to secure equipment like tripods, projector, lights, microphones. We've been able to upgrade social media accounts to business and Premiere. These are just a few examples of how your donation made it possible for us to produce hashtag 101 Nights. Without you, we couldn't have shifted our original plan of live performances in front of the White House to streamed performances online. Help us sustain and grow this beloved community by donating money, volunteering time, or by telling your friends about us. With your help, we'll be able to provide a wider platform for artists, produce higher quality videos, publicize our activism to bring voices to a wider audience, pay our interns, and hire an executive director. Please consider supporting us.
The stories that we share will live on until we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you.